back with another chapter of Expect the Unexpected by Arctic Vulpix. We are on chapter 62, and if you want to follow along, chapter link will be in the description below as always. Let's get started. Chapter 62. Stubborn. It was 8:58 when Jeremy rolled up. He got out of his car and shouldered his black duffel bag after taking a deep breath. He noticed Healy's truck was already there. She's probably been here all day. Ruby too, most likely, though there was no evidence of her in the parking lot. Jeremy glanced at the new building off to the side. He stared for just a minute before straightening his spine and marched to the usual door. His bag held just a little closer to his body. The front door was locked. No surprise. He waited 2 minutes until a sharp knock on the glass made him look down. He tried not to flinch, but old habits died hard. "Hello." Hi," the man said, slipping through the door as he eyed the round robot. He honestly hadn't expected that asking Balloon Boy to let him in at a certain time would work. Balloon Boy smiled widely, looking just a little creepy from Jeremy's perspective, and quickly locked the door again before turning around and walking to the main room. Jeremy followed, bracing himself. Just then, a shutter ran through the building, nearly topping Jeremy. Balloon Boy stopped and was staring up at the ceiling with wide eyes. He whimpered softly. "She made a deal," he whispered, before running for the main room as quickly as possible. Jeremy ran after him. What the heck was that? He walked into chaos. The animatronics were in clear emotional distress and expressing it in different ways. Goldie had dropped to the floor and was sobbing with Chica trying to comfort her while being in a state of shock herself. Freddy looked furious and helpless at the same time. Foxy had slid down the wall and was staring ahead with a resigned expression. Bonnie curled up next to him. Mangles looked close to tears herself while looking like she wanted to strangle someone. Teddy was quietly watching the originals and looked like he wanted to help but didn't know how. Chi was mutely glaring at a wall while Toby was muttering about stupid night guards. Only the puppet still remained behind his calm mask, watching the others' reactions. Phoebe ran up to Heidi, clearly upset. As Jeremy focused on his sister, he swallowed nervously. She was glaring at him, ignoring the chaos around her for the moment. She looked furious. "What are you doing here, He's brother?" came from behind him, and he turned to find Ruby eyeing him suspiciously. "I have a name, you know," he frowned as the attention of the room shifted to the night guard. "I know," she shrugged. "I don't care. I still don't trust you around the bots." She was cut off by a golden blur as Ghost Bear was suddenly sobbing into her shoulder. The worried expression on her face melted away as she focused on Goldie. "It'll be okay, Goldie," she soothed. "My best friend's gonna try and kill you," the bear yelled between her sobs, smacking Ruby's shoulder weakly. "At the moment, he's not your friend. I'll get him back for you, though," she promised, making the bear break out into fresh tears. Freddy's anger had turned into resignation as he watched them, and he moved to stand next to an upset Chica in case she needed to comfort. "Did you have to last?" Foxy asked wearily. "Wasn't there another option? Other than putting yourself in danger again?" "No," Ruby stated firmly, but not unkindly. "I need to do this, Foxy." The bot sighed, but nodded, not really having expected any other answer. Bonnie looked like he hadn't either. "What are you doing here?" she demanded from Jeremy again. She glanced between him and Heidi, who was now glaring at both of them. "He's already here, then?" Jeremy questioned, ignoring Ruby for the moment. He noticed now how, despite how angry Heidi looked, her eyes darted in the direction of Raspberry Fright. A single short nod from Heidi answered his question. Ruby was sitting on a table near Foxy and Bonnie now, watching the siblings. She seemed to be waiting for something. Jeremy seemed disturbed with Heidi's answer and frowned. Ruby just seemed to relax as well. He didn't understand why they weren't kicking that bastard out, or beating him up, or better yet, setting him on fire in the parking lot. It was better than that guy deserved. In the far reaches of his mind, Jeremy wouldn't mind taking the bots the girls cared about outside along with them and burning the entire place to the ground. He didn't voice those thoughts, of course. Something told him it wouldn't be quite that easy. He told him about the deals Ruby was fond of making, and he was skeptical about whatever power she claimed the building had. It was brick and mortar, nothing special besides the skeletons in the closet. He was still trying to wrap his head around ghosts being real and the fact that the robots he feared were living creatures with free will. He always thought they were mindless machines and the only one out to kill him was whoever made them. He lowered his voice, the old habit of calming frightened toddlers kicking in. Did you see him? This time, Hades' glare darkened and she shook her head stiffly. Her silence was taking on a creepy edge for those who didn't know her like Jeremy did. No one else has seen him yet, Freddie spoke up quietly. We just finished recharging 10 minutes ago. There was a general sense of unease and fear in the room. The bots weren't happy with the situation either. The man glanced down for a second. He seemed eerily calm. Without facing her, he looked at Ruby out the corner of his eye. I'm not going anywhere if that monster is in the same building as my sister. I'm only leaving if one of them does. He looked at Hedy pointedly. I told you not to come, Hedy said softly. But it wasn't a kind softly. This one was harsh and threatening. You never listened to me. Jerry flinched. Quickly, he righted himself and snapped. I listened to you just as much as you listened to me, Hedy. Which of us decided to work at the place that screwed our lives up? Hedy sneered and ignored him. Her eyes flashed to Ruby. She seemed angry, but there was something else in her eyes. I was hoping to get here before you and stop you from doing this incredibly, well, I wouldn't really call this stupid, but it's on the list. Reckless? Definitely. Hedy groaned and ran a hand down her face. Her hand stopping over her eyes and stayed there. Ruby's only response was to raise an eyebrow. She surprisingly didn't look smug about getting past them all. She still seemed to be waiting. You're not going to cry again, are you? Teddy asked, worriedly. Edie looked over the top of her hand with a small glare. Her eyes were dry. Teddy shut up, and Toby smirked despite the situation, pleased it was the bear with his foot in his mouth this time. Edie glanced back at Ruby. Why did you do this? I already said I had. I heard you. I know you have to. For Goldie's friend. You've told me repeatedly each of the 100 times we had this conversation over the past month. But I had hoped. He trailed off while Ruby glared slightly for interrupting her. She bit her lip. You don't. She struggled with the words. How could she say what she needed to without hurting Goldie? She glanced at the bear, who was still crying in worry, though she had eased sniffling by now. Goldie noticed. It's okay, Hedwig. No one else, except maybe the ghosts, knew, but he and Goldie had talked about some of the things that happened there, specifically the murders of Hedy's friends. Hedy knew Ruby wouldn't like it, but she needed to talk to someone who knew what happened. The originals didn't like her, while the toys were just too plain immature. Besides, Goldie had brought it up first, one day in the back room, while Hedy was counting the mask. It wasn't a very in-depth discussion, just a few minutes, and neither really said much. He had quietly admitted to Goldie that she really wasn't sure Spring was still alive in that body. She was terrified that Ruby was risking them all for someone who might not be there anymore. Goldie had nodded, breaking into tears and making Hedy feel awful. But the bear claimed to understand how Hedy felt about the situation. They were silent for a few minutes in the back room until an explosion from outside interrupted before they could say anything else. Jimmy's face twisted. He narrowed his eyes, turning back to Ruby. What's stopping me from taking an axe to that mother? Language, he muttered, no emotion in her voice. And you can't, I bet. He flashed Ruby a weary glare. The teeth stiffened and was shooting a venomous glare at Jeremy. Doing that would hardly do anything to a ghost, but it would injure Spring. The deal stops you from trying, though. I'm not about to believe in magic buildings. I'd love to see you try and go against it, she groaned. Hedy, meanwhile, looked ashamed. We don't even... She stopped. We don't even know if Spring's alive, she wanted to say. But she shouldn't. That was so selfish of her. How could she even think that? But she couldn't help it. No matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't help thinking that she wasn't willing to risk her life and the lives of others because of one animatronic. She cringed at the thought. That was awful for her to think that. She was a terrible person. And she was scared, horrified even. But she couldn't show it. Not now. Not with him only a few walls away. She took a breath. Do you really think he's not going to recognize me? You don't think he's not going to try something? I'll admit to reckless, but I'm not stupid. The night guard's gaze flicked over all of them as if daring someone to contradict her. I kept the deal simple. The game is between Springtrap and me. No other bot or human can get involved. You can't attack anyone else, and I can't use this part of the building. When I win, he has to leave Spring, and can't possess another bot while I'm the night guard. Why'd you have to make it fair? Jacob voiced what everyone else was thinking. She shrugged. The building, it needed to be fair. That's how every deal I've made has been. The building pushes until it's fair. That sounded insane to Jeremy, but the bots were all nodding like it made sense. Ruby turned to face Hebe. You don't have to be in the building this week, you know. You can take the week off. Although I doubt you will. You're as stubborn as I am sometimes. She wasn't hostile when she said it, but she also wasn't looking at Hebe with pity. There was sympathy in her eyes along with understanding. I'm not going anywhere, he muttered, making Jeremy groan. Ruby actually smiled. I'd be disappointed if you did, she admitted, before turning to Foxy and Bonnie to talk about prank ideas. She wanted some fresh ideas for the next night. They didn't see their new member that night. Ruby doubted it would stay that way for the rest of the week, though. And that's the end of chapter 62. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, go to review. We're done here, as I said at the beginning. There's a chapter link, so go, show the author some love. We are done. But before you go, be sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every Friday and Saturday. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the next chapter of Meeting the Minds.